a mum has been slammed for saying that her son who has ADHD would be put down if he was a dog. Jenny Young has 4 children with ADHD. Indeed, she's been diagnosed with the condition herself, but it is her youngest child, Ryan, who has the most severe behavioural problems. Not only does the 10-year-old have ADHD, he also has the mental age of 2, as well as other learning disabilities, and that combination has made him, as you can imagine, extremely violent towards his parents and particularly his mum, which is what led Jenny to make such a shocking statement. If my son were a dog, I would have him put down. She also said if he were her husband, she would divorce him. Jenny says people shouldn't judge her for her comments until they've heard the story, and she went on ITV's this morning to tell it to Philip Schofield.
The biggest problem, I think, is the unpredictability. He could be absolutely gorgeous all day, and you go squat down to give him what you think is going to be a big cuddle, and you think he's going to kiss you, but he might bite me, or pull my hair, or knock my glasses off, or scratch me, and I don't know why. I doubt I go through a day when I don't at least get smacked in the face.
So what led you to say, if my son were a dog, I'd have him put down?
That's partly because I've actually lived through a member of my family having to do that with her dog recently, and I know she didn't take that lightly, and it was a horrendous, traumatic experience for the whole family. They worked really, really hard, did everything they could possibly do for her. Lots of money, lots of equipment and everything, and in the end decided if they couldn't help her, then no other family could, so she couldn't be rehomed, and ultimately there was the choice of having her put down. I don't know that I liken them exactly, but there is a choice. When you have a dog that's behaving like that and might attack you any minute,
yes,
you have a choice.
But you're not saying that you would do without him?
Oh, not at all, not at all. But there is an element of choice there. But when you're a mother of a child like Ryan, there is no choice. There isn't a refuge for battered mums.
So do you understand what Jenny's getting at? Maybe you know firsthand what it's like to live with a violent and abusive child with these kinds of disabilities. Do call us 0500 288 291 or email vine@bbc.co.uk. You can find me on Twitter, just look up my name, and you can make comments on the Radio 2 Facebook page. I'm joined now by Andrea Bilbo, who's Chief Executive of the National Attention Deficit Disorder Information and Support Service. And your 2 children have ADHD, Andrea.
Yes, they do.
So do you get where Jenny's coming from?
I understand exactly where she's coming from. I've known Jenny for many, many years, and she is an absolutely wonderful mother. And her first 3 children are absolute testament to her as a parent, because they're doing exceptionally well now.
Because they have ADHD as well, is that right?
They do, yes.
So 4 children with the ADHD. I mean, you can see the strain she's under.
Absolutely, but with this one, what happens is ADHD on its own, although it's very difficult, it's when you have another condition attached to it, and the majority of the kids that we see usually have other conditions, what we call comorbidities. They will have other conditions, and that combination just makes it even worse, especially if you've got a child who is aggressive and who is violent.
Can you remind us what ADHD actually is for those people who've got no experience of it?
We all know it as children who are very hyperactive and very impulsive and who are very distractible, who have enormous difficulty delaying gratification, and I think to get a better understanding, it's the inability to regulate moods, emotions and impulses. And so, everything is exaggerated. And for instance, with this little boy who his mum goes to give him a cuddle and he bites her. That is, probably the ADHD is just enhancing that emotion, and he doesn't know how else to express it, so it comes out as a bite. And very, very difficult when you're trying to parent a child with this condition.
And what can you do? Do you put the child on drugs permanently, Ritalin?
Well, the medication is just one of the tools, and I think one of the problems that we have is that people tend to trivialize the condition, and it's anything but trivial. Medication is just not, on its own, not going to really help, and I think that there is an over-reliance on medication to do the job. So, on the whole, what's happening is a lot of parents are being given just medication, when in fact what they need is, with the medication, they do need really good behavioral intervention strategies, really good educational interventions, to go with the medication, because on its own the medication is not going to make the difference.
Just had a tweet from Andrew Lakeside, who says ADHD is so common now, is it not just an excuse for kids who are not well behaved? And we do get that a lot. You probably get that a lot.
Oh, yes. I've been talking to parents for 20 years, and I've probably spoken to well over 50,000 parents, and also being a parent myself, I know firsthand that that's nothing to do with it. You are going to get people to say that, but, as we say, walk in my shoes.
Meaning?
Meaning, if you have a child, with ADHD and then come back and tell me that it's a parenting problem, you have to live it and experience it to know what it's like.
At some point, somebody like the situation that Jenny is in, what happens if at some point you just don't have any resources left as let's say, a mum? You just don't have any strength left to deal with it.
It's absolutely exhausting, and this is the big problem with ADHD, because there is no help. Social services will not provide help. We have so many families ringing us up saying, we want respite, but ADHD does not qualify for respite. And I think that's absolutely appalling, that social services turn around and say, you get two choices. One is, no, deal with it yourself, you don't meet our criteria. And the other choice is, okay, we'll take your child away and put your child in a care home.
Oh, so you can give the child up, can you?
I don't think you can make that choice. I think if you call social services in, very often, it does happen. They will remove the child. But parents don't want to do that because they know when the children go into care, they actually get a worse deal in care. We have some horrific stories about kids with ADHD who have gone into care.
And it's interesting looking at Jenny's story, Andrea, that she had 3 children with her first husband, all had ADHD.
Yes.
Ryan then is with her second husband, and her marriages are both broken up, and she feels that's in part because of the strain of dealing with it.
Well, we did some research a few years ago, and we found that well over 50% of families break up because of an ADHD child in the family. It puts enormous strain on both parents, and there's a lot of blame because it is a hereditary condition. So you're going to have one parent who possibly has this condition, and that makes parenting worse. But I think, with Jenny, I think she's been, a wonderful mum to her kids. And for her to give up everything, give up work, and, devote 100% of her time to this boy, it's not been easy for her.
And when you say it's a hereditary condition, you mean if you meet somebody and they've got ADHD, the chances are they will pass it on. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so,
yes.
But by the time they're an adult, are they dealing with it in such a way as you can't tell they've got it, or that you could tell every time?
No, of course you can't tell just by looking, but when you look deeper, you'll find that there are signs. We now have the NICE guidelines are out, recognizing adult ADHD. A lot more adults now are being diagnosed. Retrospectively, we're dealing with a lot of adults now who are in the criminal justice system because they never got the diagnosis as a child, or they're unemployed, they're homeless. We deal with a lot of adults with a lot of quite, awful problems.
Thank you very much, Andrea Bilbo, who's Chief Executive of the National Attention Deficit Disorder Information and Support Service. And we're really talking about if you're a mum or a dad and your child has ADHD and it's turned your child violent, the strain on you. Meanwhile, having a child with ADHD is our subject. Siobhan Bradley in Stockton says, I also have a 14-year-old boy with ADHD, and I totally sympathise with the mother here. The mother in the story has said that if her child was a dog, she would have it put down. Siobhan says, there isn't a day that goes by when I'm not physically or verbally assaulted, or he puts a hand through a door or a wall or destroys his bed. It's the hardest job in the world. I've since trained as a counsellor to help other parents of ADHD children, and I need to correct your interviewee. It is not hereditary, it's genetic. I'm not aware of a difference there. Denise emails, I've got a son with ADHD. He's gorgeous, kind and generous. He's a boy. He's not naughty or disruptive. He is just misunderstood. That is the other side of it. Jansen Diamond is in Derby. Hi, Jansen.
Hiya.
You have a son with ADHD.
I do, Jeremy. Yes, I do, yeah.
And how old is he now?
He's 14.
And it led to your marriage breaking up?
No, we weren't actually married, but he was my partner. We was together for 22 years. We basically, when he was born in 98, we knew something was wrong. He never actually uttered a word till he was 4. We thought he was deaf, and then obviously he was diagnosed with ADHD and this, and then he just went through a wrecking spell of destroying everything. In 2000, I had a stroke due to the stress and everything that came out. I had a 98% recovery, so that wasn't the problem. And then it was just everything. I moved to the home that I live in now is next to the school, that we wanted him to grow up in infant school, junior school. 100 yards up the road is the senior school, so it would have been absolutely perfect. He actually goes to a school in Oakham, which is about 50, 60 mile away from where we live. He goes there on a Monday morning. He's got to be in a taxi for 7:30 in the morning, and he comes home at 5 o'clock on a Friday night. Just getting him ready for school. Try and get any kid up for 6 o'clock on a Monday morning is going to be a nightmare. But for me, he comes out with, Dad, I can't wear that sock. It's got that cotton on it. I can't wear it. And then you pretend to check, and it's just everything is a battle. So this lady, I totally sympathise. And people that judging her without knowing the story is, you need to understand people with ADHD. It's just hard work.
So when your son comes home from the school that he's at in the week, does he live with you or with your ex-partner?
No, he lives with me. He stays with me. My ex-partner, she left about 4 years ago. She sees him sometimes, but she doesn't take him out anywhere. She doesn't do anything with him, because even when we was together, she used to go into the town, into Derby, go to the Westfield, and I got phone calls. I used to keep my phone on me all the time, and he used to get a phone call. They had to shut the Westfield Centre off because he'd gone missing, and there was security guards on all the exits and stuff. That happened twice, that did.
Okay, stay with us, because Kate Rock in Fareham, you're listening. You've got a daughter with ADHD, and you can't believe this mother said that if her son was a dog, she'd put him down.
Yeah, I think it's disgusting. I've been listening to what that man's been saying, and I understand where he's coming from, because my daughter, who's 13, and she has ADHD, she also has Asperger's syndrome, which makes life pretty difficult. And I've also got two younger children who don't have any learning difficulties or behavioural problems. So times can be very, very hard. I've had times when my daughter disappeared when we're off out in public. I have hard work the minute she comes home from school. My younger two children, I've literally had to protect them from her at times because she can be aggressive. And it is very, very hard. But on the same token, she's also the most beautiful, loving child when she's being lovely. And there is, she's lovely. Everybody who meets Mia, unless they see her having what I call an autistic meltdown or, behavioural problems due to the ADHD, people just, the first thing people say about Mia is how lovely she is and how pleasant she is, because she enjoys being nice. Yes, there are times she's very, very, very difficult. And I've never been formally diagnosed with having ADHD, but there have been sort of, from professionals who I get on quite well with, some pretty heavy hints that, yes, it's genetic.
Well, you may have it. You think you may have it? Okay. Well,
I definitely would say that. And
why?
My mum
Why do you think?
would tend to agree.
Why do you think you've got it, Kate?
Because I am. My mind races at a million miles an hour. I know the symptoms of it because I've lived with a child who has ADHD. As a child, I was difficult. I was always very distractible and running off doing a million different things and finding it difficult to stay settled in one thing. My moods would flip on a toss of a coin at times.
Yeah. Okay.
But,
interesting. Well, and kind of talking quite fast and all that.
Yeah. Possibly that too, yeah.
All right, listen,
let
me go back to Jansen, sorry, because I want just to you, Jansen. I mean, I guess the thrust of this is you can't judge this mum and what she said about the dog and her son unless you're in the same situation.
No, I mean, I've not actually said it out loud, but I've thought it, and I've been so close for me to say, I've got to shut the towel and I can't deal with this no more, but he's getting better. I mean, he's had a couple of incidents this week at school, so I ring him three times a night, because obviously when he gets to finish school at 4 o'clock, I ring him, and then I ring him again, make sure he's all right. He has incidents. But yeah, I have said it under my breath a couple of times, thinking, I can't do this no more, because the help is very limited as well. I mean, to be honest, when he was first diagnosed with it, I broke down and cried, and I couldn't stand it. And I rang up social services. This is absolutely God's honest truth. I rang social services, look, I need some help with my son. I got the police round within 15 minutes, and they wanted to arrest me because they thought I was abusing my son.
Okay. Do you know what this is reminding me of, but this may not be appreciated, this comparison by these parents, is the book and the play, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. And I don't know if you've seen it or you've read it, Jansen, but it's about the mum goes missing and the father is left with the son, and he's got, I think it's Asperger's he's got in the play, but the love between the two of them is just incredible.
Oh, look, I wouldn't swap my son for books. When he's good, he's the most amazing kid. He's the most intelligent kid. But he's so unpredictable. That's the only thing I can say is the unpredictability is quite frightening because you don't know what he's going to do next.
Okay, thank you both very much. Go on, but yeah.
But it's such a loving kid. Don't not just because they've got ADHD doesn't mean that the nasty is a great kid. He's a fabulous kid. He's my world, Brandon is. But you know, when it comes to unpredictability, you just don't know what he's going to be doing next.
Meanwhile, having a son with ADHD and the mum who said if he was a dog, I'd have him put down. Debbie emails, earlier you used the phrase walk in my shoes for 24 hours and I had to pull over in my car and cry. I've lost count of the times I've said or thought this. My 18-year-old daughter has been diagnosed with ADHD, but I first knew there was a problem within a few months of her birth. No one will ever know the stress of living with this condition. She's totally out of control. Over the years we've had to live with not knowing who my daughter is going to be from one hour to the next. This means that you're constantly living on your nerves. You can't make plans from one day to the next. If you know somebody who says their child has ADHD and you have any doubts, as Debbie says, walk in their shoes for 24 hours, then you'll find out. Chris Nicolau in Norfolk says, I've got a son with Asperger's. He suffers from anxiety over the smallest things. It's hard, but my wife and I have developed coping strategies. We give him a lot of love and reassurance. We had a battle to get him a special educational needs statement for extra support at school. On the phone, we've got Yvonne in Lancashire. Hi, Yvonne.
Hi.
And you've got twins who've got ADHD, or they're stepchildren, is that right?
Yes, it is. I've got two with the problem, and it's upsetting for me because his mother kicked him out and threw just everything, his clothes and everything in the garage. I mean, who does that to the child?
And so how old are they?
Kicking off. They've turned 15 and they're not small. I'm 5'1", and they are 6'2", these twins.
Crikey.
And they, like I said, one's been expelled, and this morning it just sort of kicked off again. The school can't restrain them because they're not allowed to. They've doubled the dosage now on the tablets, and they can't have any more. I just wish they could have more counselling, these children.
And they're having, is it Ritalin that they have, or what do they take?
I can't remember. They just doubled the dosage. They went back not long ago and they've doubled the dosage to bring them down because the violent spells and school. They've been statemented so many times, and my partner's been in that school so much.
And
so the mother and the father have got it, though.
They were with... that's interesting. The mother and the father have got it. So what do you see in your partner, then, that shows you this?
When his anger is... bangs his hands down and he's like in your face and he's as if he can't get through to you, but I'm a quiet one, but he'll scream. And the mother, I went round to the house, there's holes in the wall what she's done, and doors, holes in walls.
So is it I'm struggling here to work out what the condition is, but is it something where you can't express anger, so you hit something?
That's what she's done. She's hit something and Mario will just scream at your face, and the boys are just the same.
Yes, I can tell from your voice the stress you're under at home.
He's only been with us about 4 weeks, and like I said this morning, even I was a bit scared this morning, and he ran out at 7:30 screaming, and it started from yesterday because school caused the problem because he got expelled, and they'll change him to another school, and because the school got it wrong, which school they told me they're going to, it was like something out of hell. It was just going crackers.
Thanks,
and
Yvonne.
Morning, like I say, it really scared me a bit.
I can tell. Well, you need some help, don't you? Where is your husband now?
My partner is at work, but he doesn't know what to do. And he's snapping at me, and he's putting a strain on our relationship now. And it is scary.
Thanks for calling. Take care. I hope some of these stories help you anyway.
We're just going to try and sort something out. We have to.
Yeah, I could tell you're under strain. Thank you. That's what we're talking about, really, just the strain of being the parent of an ADHD child. Sarah Fian in Liverpool says, I can understand this woman, the previous woman, is at her wit's end because some friends of mine have children with ADHD and they're constantly bouncing off the walls. But I watched the interview that she said what she said, and what comes through loud and clear is her own bigotry towards her own son. And this mother makes my blood boil. But then I don't know if Sarah has a child in the same situation. Anonymous email comes through. I'm the mother of a 14-year-old ADHD sufferer. I know what this woman means. The woman who said if he was a dog, I'd have him put down. Diagnosed at 7, my family and I have been pushed to the brink with our oldest child. You love your children, but you're faced with the daily guilt of wishing that they were somebody else's problem. Whereas this lady's son is severely behind in his intellect, our child has an IQ of 130, so he's learnt to manipulate his illness. ADHD children suffer, their families suffer, and this woman should not be made to feel worse than she already does. On Facebook, Katie Louise Bergam says, some people don't deserve to have children. How can a mother say she would have her child put down if he was a dog? It is pure evil. Remember, however hard life is, there'll always be somebody worse off than you. What about children who have cancer? I guarantee parents would rather their children had ADHD than cancer, because at least they'd be alive.